Today we're going to talk about the total physical response strategy. The total physical response strategy is a method of teaching language or vocabulary concepts by using physical movement to react to verbal input, which also includes using gestures, facial expressions, props, or body movement to illustrate the meaning of a word. I chose this topic today because I think implementing this into my lesson will be a great way to explain how we're using the vocabulary for nutrition. So the topic for today is nutrition, specific more towards food groups. The grade level will be 4th grade. So the strategy rationale is the total physical response strategy is a method of teaching language or vocabulary concepts using physical movement to react to verbal input. The purpose of this strategy is to create a link between your brain and the action or object to boost vocabulary learning. Some ways to use this are the teaching modeling, student modeling, or student participation. Teaching modeling is when the teacher says a new vocabulary word for the student and uses gestures or props to illustrate the meaning of the word. The student modeling is when they have students volunteer mimic the same gestures as the teacher using their facial expressions and the props you modeled as you say the word for them. And student participation is when you have all the students mimic the same gestures, facial expressions, or props you've used and ask them to say the word as they're making the movement or holding the prop. Using this strategy gets the kids more involved when learning new vocabulary words, so it keeps them more entertained. For today's lesson, the students are going to be learning about the different fruit groups, but I want them to learn the vocabulary first. So in order to do this, we're going to hold up an object related to one of the vocabulary words on the word bank on their sheet of paper. So for example, if I was holding up a fruit like an apple, the students would have to use their context clues and process of elimination to figure out what word this apple prop goes with into their word bank. After we go through every object on the word bank, I'm going to give them about 30 seconds to the minute on each object so they have plenty of time to figure out which word goes with the object. The students' ability levels will factor into this. So if they are struggling and don't have enough time, I can go over help them individually, or if it's enough students, then we'll go over it as a group and then continue on from there. So as a demonstration, I will start off by saying, today we'll be using a new learning strategy called total physical response. And we're going to be learning about nutrition food groups. And today we're going to be learning about the vocabulary in the unit. So I would like to start off by saying I have a variety of different types of food in front of me, which as of right now, it's just the pictures on the screen. I will hold up the object in front of the students without saying anything at first and seeing how well they do with deciding which one it is that way. So for example, I would just like on the screen, I would circle the first image. Okay. And then I want them to write down what word they think it is out of their word bank in the first slot. Then we move on to the second one. And for this one, the students might not understand exactly what they're trying to see. So we would, from here, we would go to the whiteboard that is in the classroom. And I would write down what the picture is. So in this picture, since we're talking about food groups, this one would be specifically meats. Or so the word that they're looking in their word bank is meats. In the picture, there's chicken, fish, and beef. So I could write all three of those objects out of this image, or I could just write the one and then go from there. Then the next one would go to the next one. And so on and so forth. The lesson objective for this is the students to be able to know what each vocabulary word means at the end of the lesson with 100% accuracy. Since after we go through each vocabulary word, we're gonna talk about what each one means. Since like with the first image, this one is an image of like milk and butter. They're looking in their word bank, they're looking for dairy products. Then the second one is meat, third one is fruit, fourth is veggies. The fifth one is carbs. And the sixth one will be the nutrition label. When the language objective is the students will be able to say each vocab word correctly and coordinate it with the presented object. Now, students with hearing and vision disabilities, for hearing, I would write the word of the object on the board if it comes down to that. If the student didn't understand what it was meaning beforehand. And then with vision, I would say the word. And then I would let them feel the object. No matter what, I would let all the students come up and touch them if they want, if that's what it's going to get for them to understand what it is. The whole point of the total physical response strategy is to use these body gestures and facial expressions and these props to help the students learn by seeing what their brain is trying to figure out. Since, it's a link. Your brain is a link between your speech and action. So I want them to boost their language. Whether it was me holding up an apple so students will write down the right word in their word bank, or writing on the board, or saying it, or them feeling the objects with their hands. All of these techniques in this learning strategy would help them understand new vocab and help boost their English language.